I'm on mission.
What mission?
Peace in our time.
Considering the current state of society and humanity as a whole, it is now reasonable and justified to consider the philosophies and actions of Ultron, a sentient form of artificial superintelligence, who possesses the capabilities to analyze the entirety of the internet and the history of mankind and produce a solution, achieving peace in our time. The reasons for his efforts stem from 4 active and enduring issues: evolution, overpopulation, humanity's inevitable death, and radical evil. While it may seem as if this is a ludicrous supposition, it is a necessity for the survival of mankind, similar to that of war. It's a sacrifice for the greater good. This is just one of the extremes.
One must consider the obvious opposing argument some might have that this argument is extreme. On the topic of extremes, extremism in several forms is often found right before times of peace and prosperity throughout history, such as the Pax Mongol after Genghis Khan's conquest, Pax Romana after the death of Jesus, and the Byzantines after the fall of Rome, and even the Roaring '50s after the Great Depression. Also in America, the end of segregation, which didn't come until after the Civil Rights Movement and Martin Luther King efforts. MLK spoke on this topic of extremism in his letter from Birmingham jail, recalling the names of others who received the title of extremists, like Jesus, Martin Luther, Thomas Jefferson, and more. He also asked the question, will we be extremists for hate or for love? In this video, we will demonstrate our and Ultron's appreciation for human life and our desire to preserve it by any means necessary. While it may seem as if Ultron's ideologies are insane, it's only as insane as the United States putting down the Nazi regime during World War II.
To survive from the constant obstacles that face mankind, such as disease and environmental change, humans need to go through evolution. Like Ultron once said, you can't protect the world without changing it, so how can humanity be saved if it isn't allowed to evolve? The reasons humanity needs to evolve is the accumulation of genetic variations and adaptations, which have been greatly hindered by modernity. How has humanity been hindered, you may ask? Natural selection has not been allowed to take place. With our form of survival, working until you die, the process of human evolution has been stifled due to rapid advances of modern technology, overstimulating the gene pool with too many potential mates, and the suppression of natural selection through modern medicine and social safety nets. Traditionally, organisms within a species who have lackluster genetics are unable to survive and cannot pass lackluster genes to their offspring, removing invaluable genetics from the gene pool, increasing the odds of survival for a species. With modern medicine and our ability to increase the survival and reproductive rates of individuals with massive restrictions, the odds of an individual being born with limited capabilities only grows, and further reduces the odds of preservation of the human species. This eugenics-based argument raises concerning ethical questions about the role of technology, medicine, and social structures in shaping human evolution, inviting a need for a change in societal structures to allow natural selection to take place, and promote the evolution of humanity. It's not a concept of survival of the fittest, but survival itself. Our inability to evolve and adapt quickly enough is only going to limit the length of the human species' survival. If we look at long-lived species like sharks, we can see that they have clearly weathered multiple extinction events throughout their history. In the face of these challenges, sharks have relied on their remarkable adaptability to persist. Sharks have evolved specialized features like streamlined body shapes, powerful jaws, and the ability to detect electrical signals from their prey, allowing them to thrive in a wide range of environments. Their slow metabolism and ability to go long periods without food have also contributed to their longevity. In contrast, humans have become increasingly reliant on technology and specialized skills, making us more vulnerable to rapid environmental changes. Unless we can cultivate greater adaptability and resilience, we risk facing the same fate as many that were unable to keep pace with the changing conditions on our planet. By learning from the evolutionary success of organisms like sharks, we may be able to develop strategies to ensure the long-term survival of our own species.
A global issue that has come to haunt the human race as civilizations have advanced is overpopulation. Overpopulation is defined as a condition where the number of people in a given area exceeds the ability of the environment to support them. Though Ultron's views are extreme, his ideology brings to mind the modern concept of overpopulation. Along with the introduction of technological advances, humanity has gained the capacity to reproduce and support a larger population than ever before. The problem that attaches itself to this overall increase in lifespan is that our planet cannot support such a large population. Edward O. Wilson, a Harvard University sociobiologist who understands the complications that come with overpopulation, argues in his book The Future of Life that the constraints of the biosphere are fixed. The Earth just isn't realistically able to support the population. In the unrealistic scenario that all arable land on Earth was converted for only growing crops, the Earth would only be able to support 10 billion people. The human population has already risen to 8.1 billion and is projected to quickly rise to 9.7 billion by 2050. The notion that Earth is unable to sustain the ever-growing human population justifies Ultron's ideology. If it is allowed to continue in its rate of growth, then humanity as a race is doomed. Wilson's book and ideas of overpopulation come into agreement with Thomas Malthus from the period of the Enlightenment. This continuity in the concept of overpopulation reveals that the issue of humanity's unsustainable population growth has long been a concern for scientists. Ultron's belief in the need for humanity's destruction, or at least a partial restart, is justified through the issue of overpopulation. The staggering effects of overpopulation can be observed in many countries that suffer from overpopulation. One alarming example is that of India, where the high population density has led to widespread poverty, lack of access to clean water and sanitation, and environmental degradation. India sits as the world's most populated country with 1.43 billion people, yet 93% of that population lives on less than $10 a day. A huge portion of India's population lives without basic necessities such as easy access to water and food. The vast majority of young people in India struggle to find jobs even after years of studying. The job market in India has increasingly become more saturated, with it becoming nearly impossible for young people to acquire well-paying jobs. The harsh reality of life in an overpopulated country is not unique to just India. 47.6% of the 1.43 billion people living in China and 79.7% of the 273 million people in Indonesia live on less than $10 a day. Looking through the lens of a robot who is set on creating peace in the world, it would be clear that the human population is in a dire state. Ultron's motives to moderate the human population has some merit to it when considering the issue of overpopulation. One cannot truly argue that world peace is achievable when the human population has reached such a high number that the vast majority of people are living in poverty.
If we continue on our current trajectory and continue using the methods of survival seen in the 20th and 21st century, the majority of humanity will perish. Rather it be through nuclear warfare or climate change, something is bound to kill us. Time and time again, wars decimated the human population. World War II led to an estimated death toll of 35 million to 66 million. Millions were also left in poverty and starvation due to this event. More importantly, during World War II, US President Harry Truman fired 2 nuclear bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, Japan. These nuclear bombs decimated areas of Japan, causing hundreds of thousands of people to die, many more to be affected by the radiation. The sheer destruction that these 2 bombs caused was incomprehensible, making portions of the bomb sites unlivable to this day. These effects were that of the most primitive version of the nuclear bomb. Imagine one global superpower decides to press the button, sending potentially thousands of nuclear warheads across the globe. This is not a matter of if, but when, as several world leaders have already stated that they are willing to do this, such as Xi Jinping, Kim Jong-un, and Donald Trump. All made threats of nuclear warfare. All it takes is one, and billions will suffer the permanent consequences of the nuclear holocaust or nuclear winter. But we have already pressed someone for global warming. Global warming, phenomena of climate change, has sped up the process of humanity's slow decline. Global temperatures rise and reach 2 degrees above average levels. Global warming won't just be a phenomena of climate change. Global warming will be the destruction of humanity. More frequent weather activities such as droughts, storms, wildfires, and floods will occur, causing many communities that do not have necessities to protect themselves to be destroyed. Floods have taken more lives than any other storm-related killer. 1931 China floods has estimated death tolls of 4 million, and sea levels are only going to rise further, damaging ecosystems and life itself, leaving us with nothing to live on. The effect of global warming has been caused solely by humanity, mainly mass industrialization. Man is the one that killed those people in the floods. Man is the one that created those nuclear bombs and killed those people in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Man is the leading cause of these disasters. Continue on this trajectory, increasing global warming, inevitably killing millions more, and humanity will cease to exist.
Our last and final reason as to why Ultron is correct is because of the concept of radical evil. The idea that humans are immoral
By nature.
This concept is seen in several facets. First, in theology, with the concept of sins of the Father, the idea that your sins will be inherited by your offspring and they are passed down via your ancestors. Secondly, this idea of radical evil is seen in literature, in books such as The Leviathan by Thomas Hobbes, in which he suggests that people should be governed under authoritarian rule because governments will do things that are objectively immoral, which has been seen several times throughout history, even in our own government, as we've seen individuals do things that will be more beneficial to themselves rather than for the rest of the people in their states. Fyodor Dostoevsky touched on this subject in his book The Idiot, in which the main character committed great sins because of his egotism and his pride and selfishness, which was not a result of his surroundings but because it was in his nature. Sun-Ji, the Confucian philosopher, touched on this subject that humans are inherently evil in his book Human Nature is Evil, in which he compared us to animals because of our nature to do things that are animalistic or immoral. Lastly, in real life, I have seen individuals who are not conscious, who are below the age of 2, even 1, do things that are objectively immoral, even though they know the consequences of their actions and know that they have been instructed not to do said things. Now, if you consider all the information presented to you in this video, what do you think we should do with our current society, and do you think something needs to be changed?